If you run a business online, you are probably feeling the squeeze. Your website feels sluggish, and when that hosting renewal bill hits, you realize the price has spiked again. The tech industry's response to this frustration is to sell you on complex new architectures. They want you to adopt edge networks or shift to serverless hosting. While those technologies look great on conference slides, they rarely fix the actual bottlenecks slowing down standard business sites. To figure out what you actually need, we have to separate the trends that belong in an engineering newsletter from the ones that actually change the number on your invoice. The most useful metric to evaluate your hosting in 2026 is simple. Does a new technology move work onto the origin server you rent or away from it? Focusing on technologies that move work elsewhere distracts you from the hidden taxes, quietly draining your server capacity and your budget. Ignoring mundane operational taxes to chase architectural hype guarantees you lose control of both your budget and your site's performance. Let's look at edge networks first. An edge network takes cached copies of your static assets, like images and scripts, and places them geographically closer to your visitors. This diagram illustrates the problem. Your images load fast, but the heavy database queries and PHP execution required to build an uncached WordPress page cannot be moved. They still have to happen at your single origin server. Then there is serverless architecture. The pitch here is that you stop paying for idle server time because the server only spins up when a request comes in. The reality is that spinning up takes time. Serverless platforms come with a steep cold start penalty, and control path overhead makes up 30 to 40% of that delay. If your business gets steady, predictable traffic, a traditional server process stays warm. On a serverless setup, you are forcing your users to wait hundreds of milliseconds to start a process that didn't need shutting down. These are brilliant engineering achievements for highly specific, spiky, event-driven workloads. They simply aren't built for a standard brochure site or online store. Migrating a standard business site to edge or serverless adds massive architectural complexity, but leaves the underlying origin bottlenecks completely untouched. The actual threats to your site's speed are the invisible trends dumping massive amounts of work directly onto your origin server. This chart shows 24.2% of bot traffic are AI crawlers. Unlike humans, bots relentlessly walk deep archives. Building uncached pages requires PHP, crashing into standard 15-entry process limits and holding workers active. Human customers then queue up or hit a 503 error. You might assume you can just update your robots.txt file to block the load. But current internet standards keep crawler authentication completely out of scope. Robots.txt is purely an access control list. It does absolutely nothing to manage server load. This puts high-volume publishers and businesses with massive, uncached URL surface areas directly in the crosshairs of this invisible traffic. AI has introduced an operational tax that exhausts the fixed entry processes and memory limits of standard hosting plans. Physical grid limits are now aggressively driving up the cost of hosting capacity. The Department of Energy projects that data centers will consume up to 12% of total United States electricity by 2028. Your conventional web hosting server is now competing against high-density AI accelerator racks for the exact same facility power and cooling budgets. On the software side, prices are being squeezed by aggressive vendor consolidation. The dominant Linux control panels, including cPanel, are now owned by a single private equity-backed software group. This level of market control creates an unavoidable licensing pass-through cost that inflates nearly every shared hosting invoice across the industry. Your renewal bills are spiking to subsidize physical power grid limits and private equity software monopolies, not to improve your service. Swiping a credit card for architectural upgrades won't fix this. Protecting your site requires a rigorous audit of your origin server. The most effective defense against the AI crawler tax is aggressive server-level caching implemented across your entire website. A cached page costs 0 entry processes to load. With high cache coverage, heavy bot volume becomes effectively free to serve. If you run a standard business, verify your cache hit rate first. Then, heavily scrutinize the gap between your promotional rate and your renewal rate before accepting a price hike. If you manage a high-volume publishing site, demand published, hard specifications from your providers rather than trusting vague marketing copy. Any plan advertising unlimited resources is a red flag in 2026. You need to know your exact entry process and RAM container limits so you can accurately size your uncached surface area. Protecting your budget and your performance requires mastering the unglamorous fundamentals rather than endlessly chasing the hype.